Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a next session, Unveiling of UCF for Indian Fintechs. And I would like to invite Mr. Jayesh Gadewar, CTO, Scrut Automation. Mr. Jayesh is the co-founder and CTO at Scrut and also part of Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia and Forbes 30 Under 30 India. He's co-founded his first startup at the age of 21 and went on to being the co-founder of Scrut, where he has built and scaled the entire engineering function from ground up.
Importance can prove to be a Herculean task. For each of these regulations, there could be hundreds of requirements with ambiguous descriptions and overlapping criteria. Not only do organizations need to comply with multiple standards from multiple regulatory bodies, but they also need to keep up with the latest circulars and updates. This makes it super complex for fintech organizations to build a robust control structure. This complexity could result in missed security parameters, redundant controls, and unending compliance cycles. But what if there was a solution that could simplify the entire process? Introducing DeguSense, a pre-built common control framework for all Indian fintech companies. With controls pre-mapped to requirements, DeguSense streamlines your compliance process and makes it easier than ever to stay on top of your obligations. Leave it to DeguSense to keep a tab on the ever-evolving needs of the industry and build a strong security posture for your organization. And you can focus on what matters the most, growing your business and serving your customer. Experience the power of DeguSense today. Stay ahead, stay aware, stay compliant. In the fast-paced world of fintech, staying compliant with various cyber.
Yeah, so that's really what we call our unified control framework. We call it DeguSense because it has a combination of all the regulations that an Indian fintech company would have to face. No matter if it's RBI PPI or RBI data localization, tokenization, or the new PCI 4.0. The idea was very simple because a lot of these controls or requirements that come from all of these regulations are quite common across, or there's a 70 to 80% kind of an overlap. So what we thought, we just thought that, hey, why not create a unified control that can be mapping across multiple frameworks that can also reduce the duplicity of the effort involved and help you with your internal and external audits. So just a quick example here would be where we have this framework. So you can see that we have the RBI tokenization, we have the SOC 2, we have ISO 27001, and also the SEBI Cloud Framework and the localization framework. All of these would be spanning across a common control set that can be viewed here, and you can deep dive into each of these controls and see what exactly you are collecting and how you are managing your control effectiveness across each of these controls. So for example, a very common control that is part of every framework, right? Data backups. Does your organization take regular backups of your data, your software, maybe your operating system, maybe your containers or images? So the platform would automatically detect all of the policies and the evidence that you might have collected across for any of your frameworks and map it across to your other frameworks as well. And the platform would also integrate with your cloud providers to discover any of your cyber assets to check for any of these control effectiveness. Maybe you're using RDS. So are you taking RDS backups? The platform will notify you right here. You can also deep dive into the control weightage and also assign it to your relevant folks in the organization.
All right.
Your cloud assets and tell you where exactly your risk lies. You can see on a very high level that what are your danger assets or what are the assets that are making you or you're vulnerable to. So you can deep dive into each of them and see what exactly is going wrong. We also check across the containers to highlight any kind of any kind of vulnerabilities that your containers also might be, you're leaking towards. Because nowadays the containers itself are made up of a lot of open source third-party applications that would leak you towards any kind of CVs that are reported by any of these security researchers. You can exactly see what are the vulnerabilities that have been highlighted, and you can also see how to prioritize them using the CVSS score. So that you know exactly which vulnerability is important to you and which is something that is very trivial. We also go across, because there was somebody just mentioned that, it's not just your assets or your infrastructure that is making you vulnerable. It's also the SaaS providers or the vendors that you're working with. So we also check across your third-party risk management. So we integrate with your cloud providers, your SSOs to discover any of these vendors, and you can check across any of the risk scores across all of these vendors. So you can know exactly which vendor is most riskiest and which is the vendor that really needs any kind of mitigation activities. And you can also manage your internal and external audits through the platform. Given a fintech, they go through a lot of internal audits, as well as maybe your external audits, or maybe your banking partners are also auditing on you using their own custom frameworks. So you can manage them on the platform using the audit center, and you can also give the platforms access to the auditor so that there is no kind of data leakage. You don't have to send out your artifacts on email or maybe on through WhatsApp or anywhere. And we also check across your people risk, because your people are using your endpoints and also connecting to your systems. So we also integrate with your HRI solutions, your IDPs to highlight any kind of employees, and if they have their hard drives encrypted, if they have their screen lock enabled, or if they have their antivirus installed. And have they gone through the security awareness training is a very common question, because a lot of folks don't go through the periodic assessment. So the platform would essentially help you periodically assess your employees and also send out security assessment material to them. Yeah, so I'd like to open up for any questions the group might have.
So basically, I've come up with different auditors. So they have a predefined checklist. So they prefer those checklists only. So like if you're using your tool like Scoot, so there's a different type of controls will be there, right? So how we are mapping it? Like, is it something like we have to give a training to the auditor also, like for this particular control checklist, this is the map thing, or like they have to just go through it by themselves only, or like there's a training session from your side, like how this has been handled?
So definitely, if the auditors usually have their own checklist, right? When it comes to banks, honestly, they have their own checklist and they are not, going to change that.
Correct.
So on the platform, you can actually upload your own controls and create your own frameworks as well. Let's say, you are working with a banking partner, you can just add that checklist here and manage it across on the platform. But yes, of course, you can, map it to the unified control framework that we enable for you, or bring your own controls on the platform.
Okay, so just a follow-up question on that. So basically, like if we have different vendors, different audits, like for example, we are having a RBI SAR organization, or like RBI DL1 and PCI DSS, and like we have, for example, we have a single auditor only, let it be CISA or ESEC, anything. So for each of them, if they have a different checklist apart from your tool, so like whether we have to upload all those checklists for each of them, don't you think like it will be a manual process for them, like how?
Checklist can be, so the checklist, the auditor remains same, the checklist will continue to be calculated.
Agree, but for different audits it will be different, right?
Yeah, but that can be added as a framework. So you just
Okay.
that checklist, that can be added as a framework. The controls in the UCF will get mapped to this checklist, just like it would get mapped to PCI.
Got it.
You
So
don't have to create that every time.
got it. So basically,
Just
if we
create that framework, let's say just CISA 1, just like CISA _1, that becomes a checklist and the controls get mapped to that checklist.
got it. Thank you.
So I have a question. So, very practical scenario. For example, I want to have a bird's eye view look at, or a CISO angle at one control that spreads across multiple standards, that travels through many BUs and I have to measure the design effectiveness and the operative effectiveness of it. Do we have that workflow?
Yeah, so in fact, this is quite common with few of our customers where they have multiple entities and they would like to, track their compliance across some of their entities. So you can actually manage all of your artifacts on the platform and tag it to one of the entities. Can somebody share with the platform? Yeah. So you can actually have something on an organization-wide level or also have it on your business unit or your entity level. And when it comes to your control effectiveness, of course, you can of course choose to slice and dice when it comes to your controls. So you can see exactly, so some of the artifacts here are making it non-compliant. You can see that for this particular account, the S3 bucket versioning has not been enabled. So it's making my whole control non-compliant.
So what I understand from here is the data backup control straight away interacts with the artifacts.
Mm-hmm.
But what I would like to see as a CISO or the person who takes decision is the control, why not it can talk to an immediate BU or an immediate business unit. And I go to I would call it as a crisscross linkage where I go to a BU and then I see the effectiveness of BU with respect to the controls, and then I see the percentage, and then I click one control, and then I can see the BU from the control, and I click one person who's owning 10 controls, which he is not compliant with, and then I click that control, I go to that BU, because to implement and effectively operate a control, I need support of a BU, and I need support of a BU head, and no BU head does that control implementation job, that's the person who does it. So if I have my teammate to track this entire thing, I can't straight away just use this GRC as a conceptual tool to complete my audits. So where would I, in principle, where is the wheel? Is that workflow I'm actually looking at?
Sure. When it comes to your BUs, right, the platform, so on this particular demo instance, the BUs have not been enabled?
No. I mean, that is a pain point. I would like to, even if it is not.
Definitely. So probably, we can connect offline and I can showcase that.
Yeah.
But definitely a point made well.
Yeah.
For example, if there are cloud findings. Yeah, so if you have findings which are related to cloud, there is a workflow section where you can assign the task who is going to complete those tasks so that the workflow is maintained. Now I want to understand what workflow do you think is possible?
That is the practicality I'm talking here about. Let us take DevOps and DevSecOps.
Yeah.
Their task entirely talks at Jira level. But I'm a CISO. I entirely talk at the program level. Auditor, he entirely talks at the control level. This is the problem I'm actually facing.
Yeah, so
basically, if I take a control, that control should have access to all attributes of security: asset, BU, owner. And that control can converge into the people, process, technology, at least operative effectiveness measurement.
I can give you an example to illustrate this.
Okay.
For example, our automated access review management. So access review management has been a pain point for all of us. How we automated it to make sure that these requirements are being met is we take the active HR list and then we compare it with all the IAMs, whether it's the IAMs of the code repository or your cloud IAM, and then flag and produce an access review result. Currently, if you have to do an access review, you do this manually, right? Generally. But here in this tool, it is all automated. You have to just set the frequency, make sure that the HRMS tool is integrated, and it will do that comparison by itself and provide the result. You can do it on quarterly basis, you can do it on monthly basis.
See, exactly the problem. You're talking about integrational capability, but take a very personal instance. How I operate is, I have integrated my HRMS with Okta. So no recon happens at any level. Only if HRMS is revoked, Okta revokes.
Okay.
But there are certain tools where BU uses and that is manually done. In that case, what I would do is, I would create a replica in the control library and I will assign it on a BU basis to a person. So I should be able to manually, like if there is an option to upload my control set, I need that workflow at
There-
the BU level, and
there,
again,
there is an option. So when you say, I want to upload my control set, it means you want to upload a framework. So you can, so I'll give you a very fine example. We onboarded a customer recently who is from Middle East. Now Middle East, Saudi Arabia has come up with their own privacy guideline. And since they are using our framework, our automation tool, for them it was so easy. Why? Because we already have 27701 and it took just one day for our customer success team and the client team to understand the requirement and map it with 27701. And that's live. Yeah.
Yeah, it's So what you mentioned was obviously the cross-standard scaling. So, are you talking about a situation where GRC is central, but the individual BUs have their own SOPs and processes, and you are trying to solve for that heterogeneity? Because
yeah, we can say that. For example, let us say I have to create an exception management workflow, or I have a findings management. There will be one. Let us say I need that. I'm talking about the logic, not the thing which is not there. I'm talking about, for example, there is a finding management, 100 set of findings. I click one finding, I should be able to see the list of controls that is tagged against the finding, or the list of risk that is tagged against the finding, or the list of people that is tagged against the finding, or the BU that is tagged against the finding. Because end of the day, from the audit readiness or our group, I can openly say my nervousness the day before the audit, I would like to look everything at the BU level, not at the control level. I would like to see everything at the BU level, like which BU I should strategically place in the audit schedule so that it is not getting ripped apart, practically. So
Fair
when
point,
like
yeah.
I click one button, I see BUs like 100%, 80%, 45% red, that BU. So I click it, what are all things I need to, okay, have compensating answers, compensating things, to do things, like what are all those things? The ultimate.
yeah. So I think. Fair point. So, and this is a complexity that we also face with several of our customers, particularly entities where multiple acquisitions have happened across a period of time, right? So, I think what we are now able to do a good job of is maintaining assignability. So, for example, you can push findings into Jira. There's bidirectional integration. You can push findings in service now. One view is using Jira. One view is using the GRC tool here. You can do that. I think your point is more around how do I slice and dice that information and present it in the right manner. That's maybe, I'm very happy to take design feedback on that.
Yeah. See, because
Yeah.
the actual problem is, sorry, I'm taking long. The actual problem is, that is the next scale up for me with this tool. Because I will achieve the 100% of this tool in 6 months. That is my next scale up.
Fair point. Fair point. I will take the liberty to follow up on that. And we'll take that design feedback because it's very useful for us. So
Free of cost.
Thanks.
Just kidding.
Single malt on us. So
Yeah, sure. Anytime.
Super.
Anytime.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think any more queries could be clarified during the networking session. Yeah, thank you.